Hi everyone, and welcome to the second edition of Bourbon Sessions with Beauty Cubed. Today I'll be drinking Jim Beam White. This #1 selling bourbon in the world has hints of caramel, vanilla with a clean finish, making it ideal for mixing with soda, juices, and complex cocktails. Today I'm drinking Bourbon Sour, which really highlights the flavor profile of this bourbon.
So the doctor said that Harry and I have to wait at least 2 months before we can even try to get pregnant again, and I'd like to go back to work, but then if I do get pregnant, that's not really fair to the new employer.
Today's topic is about career impediments of motherhood, where we explore if there are in fact real unspoken impediments that women face when trying to balance career and motherhood. My guest today is a good friend of mine, Jordana Vieira. She has an honors in business administration and is a chartered accountant. Welcome, Jordana, and thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Priya.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So, you've been married for how many years?
We just celebrated 2 years last week.
And not to be candid, but do you plan on having children someday?
Well, it's still too early to say, but I think it's something that we'll explore in the next little while.
Do you believe that when being pregnant, it reduces your chances of being hired when interviewing?
I don't believe it, but I'm not naive either. I've heard both men and women feel very discouraged about hiring pregnant women.
Interesting you say that, because as per an article from Globe and Mail from 2013, US data shows that pregnancy-related discrimination cases have actually been steadily increasing since 1997. Let me level with you for a moment. As a fellow hiring manager, say you see a woman walk into an interview and she's about 7 months pregnant, or looks to be 7 months pregnant because you're not legally allowed to ask. Wouldn't it be a staffing issue about 2 months later when, she goes on mat leave?
Well, when it comes to talent and headcount, you want the best person for the role.
True.
And maternity leave really does vary from just 2 weeks in the US to a full year in Canada, just a few miles north. Really, in the end, how much maternity leave a woman takes should be up to her. It's 2015, and the nice thing about that is that we have a lot of options and we have a lot of great technology. Women can choose to come back to work early or work from home or part-time, telecommute. Fathers can also take time off and spend time with their children. In the end, people have to be creative and just make things work.
I like how you mentioned paternity leave. I feel like there's always a stigma behind paternity leave, You know what? Solid points. Now, what about on the flip side? Assume you are now on mat leave and there is a really good opportunity that comes up in the organization that you're a shoo-in for.
Sure.
Is there a risk now that you won't be considered for that new role simply because you are not physically in the office, and as a result, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind?
Well, just because a woman's on leave doesn't mean she shouldn't stay in touch with her professional life. In fact, I strongly encourage that she do so. I know many women who have done so and have come back from having their children and back from leave to new roles, lateral roles, promotions. And again, a great example of that in modern times would be someone like Marissa Mayer.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned Marissa Mayer because I, for one, am a huge fan. But the interesting fact is that according to an online article from Fortune magazine dated 2014, only 5% of Fortune 1000 companies' CEOs are females. 5%.
Yeah.
Stark in contrast.
It is, and I think there's a lot of things going on there. I know that women sometimes feel like they can't aspire to be CEO. They almost limit themselves, and then there's obviously other factors limiting them outside of that.
I wonder how much of this percentage is due to the fact that women feel limited and set back due to perceived setbacks of motherhood.
I don't doubt that women limit themselves. I'm sure that there are some women who do that. And I think it's about embracing imperfection, being able to live with things won't always be perfect all the time, and you're okay with that. You have to get a supportive partner. And I think you have to explore all options.
Kind of like
babysitters, nannies.
Yeah, exactly. Look outside the nuclear family.
Right.
Right. Again, it's 2015. So many things have happened. We've progressed so much. Yet, why do we hold on to this concept of the nuclear family?
I don't think we do. I think it's slowly evolving, and I think it really comes down to the pressure that you put on yourself as a woman. I think society puts a certain amount of that on yourself. It's really up to you to accept it or to say, look, not everything's going to be perfect. Not everything has to be according to script or what society tells me. I'm going to have to wing it certain times. Sometimes the house is going to be messy. Sometimes we're not going to have a babysitter. But you know what? My career is important, and so is my partner's, and we're just going to make it work.
I agree. Compromises definitely need to be made. And the reason is because times are constantly changing, the economy is constantly evolving, businesses are constantly changing. You can't simply stop because you're on mat leave.
Right.
So here's my burning question. Are you less of a mother if you have a nanny?
Having a nanny doesn't make you less of a father, so it shouldn't make you less of a mother.
Touche. I'd like to cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
To you.
To motherhood. It's hard to say if discrimination against pregnant women is real or not. But in order for us to fight this discrimination, it's important that we don't make it an option. If you're visibly pregnant and you're interviewing, then make mention that, you know what, I'm flexible, we'll make this work. If you're on mat leave and you're afraid of missing out on a possible opportunity, then do keep in touch with your manager. In fact, maybe mat leave is a better time to keep in touch with the manager because you have more free thinking time. But above all, what irks me the most is the fact that I feel women are often judged for choosing the option of a nanny. And options such like a nanny are invaluable. And if our own gender is judging us, then how are we going to ever close the gender gap? I mean, if we really, really want true equality, we're going to have to make it work. And making it work means that there's a natural part of life. We're going to be moms. There is going to be that time where you're pregnant and possible mat leave. But we need to, rather than judge each other, we need to empower each other. Guess what? It's 2015, times are changing, and we gotta change with them. Thank you once again for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, join the conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you once again, and bye.